you know, there are opinions on both sides, and you know, it's just kind of a hot topic issue. I thought I'd throw some jokes out there.
Times are changing.
Yeah,
times are changing.
Definitely
Magic.
I mean, it makes sense. Like once you set the precedent that you know, you reprint
anything can happen.
Yeah, that you're reprinting them without the art. You can't then like be like, all right, the new Dark Confidant is Bob. Like, would you another?
That'd be like
Bob?
the ultimate.
Who cool is just like. What am I, chopped liver? Like, come on, I'm right here, guys.
Bob, we actually want to resketch you.
Oh, Jen's also got the Solemn Simulacrum also got reprinted with new art.
With a much sadder robot.
Yeah. I mean, it was already a pretty sad robot, but now it's not only sad, but aloof, I would say.
Sure.
You know, withdrawn.
They didn't reprint that card.
That's a good card.
It's a really good card. I think it's always constructed like worthy.
Yeah, no matter what era of Magic. Like, if that was reprinted in... You know, the way back days it would have been good. When it was printed, it was good, and it like still saw play a bunch after that. And it got reprinted again and saw a bunch of play. And if it got reprinted now, it would still see play.
Yeah, it's a nice, healthy card.
Yeah, it's like it's really good, but it's not oppressive. Right?
No, not at all.
It's just like
it's a format tutu.
Yeah, it's just good.
It's better than half the Maze Runners.
Over half.
So you see both players shuffling up here. Looks like we might have a couple mulligans here. Both players, maybe 6 or 7. We'll find out in just a moment here. They're gonna shake hands. Little sportsmanship. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so they're looking at their first 7. They were just shuffling up quite a bit here. Again, our higher seed is Brad Nelson as our 6th seed. Spires our 8th seed.
The
underdog's tail.
The 6th seed's the high slot.
And so now here is Doom Traveler to start the show. Now Spires has what is probably one of the poorer cards in this matchup in his opener. You're going to see a Temple Guard near, and there it is.
Oh.
There's the elephant in the room.
This is embarrassing.
Dryad Militant. We saw this from Richard Wynn in one of the sideboard games against Nelson yesterday. It is not very good. Now obviously it's game 1.
After playing them on turns 1 and 3, Richard literally laughed at himself for how bad that card was.
Yes.
And we see it right here. You know, what are you gonna do? Trade it with the front side of a Doom Traveler?
Absolutely.
I mean, you're kind of like priced into it now because like a sacrifice outlet would be a demon, and like what are you gonna do? Not attack with your aggressively costed 1-drop? Like, wow, and that's what it is.
It's staying back on defense,
and there is a Cartel Aristocrat.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a real shockaroo here that Brad has. The Cartel Aristocrat. Here comes Doom Traveler.
This is just a free roll, trying to get the point of damage because John kind of has to take it because what if the follow-up is like a Lingering Souls and not a sacrifice outlet? Then, you know, you give him Morbid for free. So that's a free point from Brad. Really heads up play. You know, that's something that you only get when you play at a high level and Aristocrats a lot.
Yep.
So he gets the free point there and the Demon. And as we said earlier, these aggressive decks nowadays cannot really deal with a 5/5. I mean, if you can price it into blocking, you can hopefully 1-for-1 it with a Rampager or 2-for-1 yourself with like a Searing Spear. But otherwise, you don't have any like straight up removal for, you know, you don't have the Dismember or what have you, access to that type of effect to deal with a 5/5. And Brad, A, being on the play, B, having Cartel Aristocrat, one of the more important cards, and C, having the turn 3 Demon draw, which is really unbeatable for these aggressive decks, I have to say he's looking quite well poised for exactly this situation.
You see Spires is going to attack him with his guys. He's going to follow up combat with a Boros Reckoner, realizing that I got to do something with this Dryad Militant, so might as well get in, force through some points of damage with my Voice Resurgence and pass the turn back. So Reckoner is here, but again, you know, this isn't the first time we've seen Reckoner look pretty mediocre on this tournament. And, you know, right now you see it looking super mediocre in this matchup. Brad coming across in the air, Reckoner, have fun on the ground. Brad's going to go up the ground now. There's your Blood Artist. There's your Voice Resurgence.
Wow.
And this is an insane draw here for
Brad's
Nelson.
just laughing at his nut draw.
Yeah.
This is a pretty unbeatable sequence.
And also, you know, he has Scavenging Township in play as well, because why not?
Casual, yeah. And, you know, Reckoner, like, at best, it's a 3/3 unblockable, and at worst, it's just, like, not even anything, because you get the chump with the sacrifice outlets, you don't even get the redirect damage, plus the Blood Artist trigger is just, like, actively bad for you. Any combat involving him. And John Spires, I mean, he doesn't have like a bonfire he can miracle, does he? That was
no, he has none in his deck list. He was playing. It looks like he was playing Aaron Barrister's like straight 75 from last weekend, which is a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, I mean he's in the finals.
Yeah, but I mean Nelson's draw this game is unbelievable, and you saw John before he played that stream was kind of like shrugging his shoulders, going, "What the heck am I supposed to do here? I can't really do anything."
Yeah, there are very few decks in the metagame that could beat this draw, and this draw it lines up perfectly against the aggressive strategy of John Spires. So I think we knew that these matches were going to be fairly quick. and it looks like we're going to be off to a quick game one. You know, game's pretty much over, and we're only 5 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly difficult. You know, there's going to be some things going through the motions here. You know, they're going to trade some things in combat. Brad's going to get an elemental token, which happens to just be a 5/5. No, excuse me, 6/6. Cartel Aristocrat's still hanging out, so no big deal there.
And the Blood Artist trigger, like lethal next turn in the air, like
Skirt Stack High Priest activation because of Morbid. Look, I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying it's going to be pretty tough. My job as a commentator is not to ever call a game over. So I'm just going to say that it's going to be real hard for John Spires to win this game. But stay tuned.
And a meteor crashes through the ceiling and lands on Brad Nelson.
Yes. But anything can happen in the game of Magic.
Yeah. Brad looking for another Jerry Thompson token, it looks like. One
is enough. They're legendary.
Yeah,
it's an avatar.
Merit Leech. Oh,
hold
no.
on, so one of those has to die. And Spires is going to concede the game. All kidding aside, one hell of a draw there from Nelson.
Yes, absolutely. Especially from the play, you're never beating that. No one is.
Yeah. The Naya deck is really, really good, but it's not good enough to take that one down. As we are going to ask a year's worth of trivia now.
Wait, did we announce our winner from the last one?
I did.
Okay, I missed that.
That's okay. That's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
It's a year time. And you probably know the rules, but some of you may have just joined us. So I'm going to ask you a question. 12 months of premium, a full year. Well, you're probably going to be able to read about a Brad Nelson article this week about this deck, maybe a Magic Online video. I don't know. Actually, I do know, because I can make him do whatever I want, so it's probably going to be a video.
Dance, puppets, dance.
Yes, it's probably going to be a video for you guys. But I'm going to ask you guys a question. Tweet your answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium. We'll select a winner after this match is over. And the question is, nice drum roll, in Brad's sideboard, he has a 2 of Planeswalker that I think we're going to see come in this matchup and have a pretty good effect. And if you're able to name that 2 of 4 mana Planeswalker, tweet your answer on Twitter with the hashtag of SCG Premium. We will select one winner from the group of winners. It is about accuracy, not speed. And we will announce the winner after this finals match is over, before we do after we do Crown a Champion, but before the winners interview. So, tweet away, my little nerdlings, as we are going to go over the sideboards here. Spires is going to be on the play, so we'll have the sideboards up on the screen for you guys momentarily. But what do we got?
A couple Boros Charms, you know, Boros Charms number 3 and 4. We've seen them have pretty mediocre impact in these matchups, but like theoretically it's good. It has applications.
Sure.
I'm not sure what number you want. I don't think it's 4, but I don't think it's 0.
Okay.
So, you know, whether that number is 1, 2, or 3, you know, we'll see how he messes with those numbers. Mizium Mortar's one of the more important cards. Kills the High Priest dead.
Yes.
And Overload is actually a thing, since Brad does try and grind the game out long and gum up the board with a bunch of creatures. As long as, you know, not a bunch of those creatures are Cartel Aristocrats and Virals and 5/5 Demons, then, you know, the Mortars can actually do something at that point as well. So I have to assume those are coming in. The other removal spell in the sideboard is Pacifism, which doesn't actually do basically anything against Brad's deck.
Yeah, against this deck, oddly enough, there's like a creature deck, and it's doing all these creaturey things. Pacifism, I don't think could be any worse than this here.
Yeah, we're going to do Pacify a Voice. It's just like, all right, you know, use one of my 7 sacrifice outlets to get the elemental. It's just like, not going to be the type of effect you want. And then Skullcrack doesn't really do much. Volcanic Strength obviously not doing anything. And Rave Revelation also not doing anything. So very limited sideboard options from Spires after the Mortars coming in. I don't know really what else you can do.
We take a look at Nelson's sideboard on the screen for you guys. We got 4 Deathrite Shaman, 3 Sin Collector, 3 Unflinching Courage, 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Garruk Relentless, and 1 Appetite for Brains. I think those Abrupt Decays are certainly going to join us.
That one's the obvious one.
Yeah, that one's very easy. Again, I think we saw him sideboard in Unflinching Courage against Richard Wynn.
No,
actually, Richard Wynn sideboarded against him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes you wonder if he wants to sideboard in Unflinching Courage against Spires deck, where he does know that Spires has access to 4 Spears and 2 Boros Charms. Now again, I'm with you that he doesn't sideboard in Pacifism to try to one-up an Unflinching Courage. I think Brad, I don't think that's a realistic thing that can happen because Pacifism is so bad here. So
that's a leveling war that's just not even worth getting into.
Yeah. So, you know, there are 6 ways for for Spires to make an unflinching encourage bad. You know, it just makes you wonder if Brad thinks that he wants to go that avenue or not. But I think we're also going to see Garrett Relentless come in here. Maybe it doesn't come in this game because he's on the draw. And it's a little bit better on the play. But I think, you know, if we do see a third game, we might see that come in. And as we saw earlier, Brad has boarded in Sin Collector a lot against these decks. Just to get the information. If he does snag a card, it's great. If he doesn't, it's no big deal. But information to figure out how he's going to apply a game plan has been invaluable for him over the course of this weekend.
Yeah, you wouldn't think of Sin Collector as a card to bring in against these Naya decks, especially because they only have, you know, 10 to 15 cards post-board that it can actually hit. But, you know, it's not a matter of collecting sins as much as it is inspecting sins. You know, you just want to see what's up, whether you have to play around Spear or Rampager or Boros Charm or some combination of those. You know, playing around those types of cards and how to sequence your removal. Like, does he have a Reckoner or is it just voice? You know, what have you. Knowing how to sequence your removal is really, really important. And if you happen to hit like an Advent of the Worm, there's just unbelievable value. And the 2/1 body, while not, you know, it's no Viral's the Scar Stripe. It's not, you know, it's not gonna single-handedly win the game for you. We have seen it take down like the backside of Strangleroot Geist, the front side of Voice of Resurgence. It has tumbled before. So I would not be surprised to see Sin Collectors coming in once again for Brad. He does like them in this matchup.
Now, if you're Spires here, the thing that you want to do outside of sideboarding on Dried Militant, which I hope he finds that after that interaction game one, is that, you know, again, he just wants to get off to an aggressive start here. We have seen Brad play against Naya multiple times this weekend where he's kind of on the back foot and he has trouble stabilizing. We saw Joe Panaccio actually defeat Nelson during the Swiss. And again, if you let his deck stabilize and start getting up to its little antics with Varls and Blood Artist and Sursec High Priest and everything, there's no coming back from that. So you have to just keep pushing him over and don't ever let him get set up. And now his creatures, Spires creatures, are big enough to make things difficult on Nelson, but he needs to get off to a fast start. He has to have, you know, hopefully experiment one on the opening turn to the game into one of those 2-drops, Strangleroot Geist or Voice of Resurgence, into one of those awesome 3-drops, and just keep knocking him over. You know, when we watched Nelson versus Panaccio, one thing we kind of saw was Panaccio was just taking his guys and literally turning them sideways every turn.
Well, games 2 and 3. And he won those. The one game where he tried to get fancy, kill Soren and whatnot, he ends up a couple points short. And in a game that he very likely could have won had he just gone to the Dome. And we saw that with Richard Wynn as well. You know, he could have had the higher board presence and the more aggressive board, but chose to sort of exchange resources with Brad, which, you know, that's all Brad wants to do.
Now you see a Spire start here, no 1-drop, no 2-drop.
That is
and
not
I don't
where you
know
wanna
if he
be.
has a 3-drop. I know he has Advent of the Worm, but he needs to have a creature. This is not a good hand if you're John Spires. This is a hand that you had to mulligan. I see 3 or 4 lands. All I see is an Advent of the Worm here. And Nelson has, oh, what a surprise, Skurtstack High Priest, Cartel Aristocrat, and Doom Traveler. He has a 5/5 at will. It seems like he's doing this every game.
The timing is upkeep here. And Brad is doing it correctly. You know,
here's your
unsurprisingly,
5/5.
Brad Nelson, former Player of the Year, does the technical play with Aristocrats correctly. Does make a 5/5. John doesn't have anything. I mean, John kept a hand with no 1, 2, or 3 drops on 6 cards on the play. I honestly think you have to go to 5. I mean, obviously, now we would like to see 5 cards, but had he drawn a little better, maybe we wouldn't be questioning it. It's hard to say. You know, going to 5 on the play is really, really rough, but so is just not even having any sort of board presence.
I would rather go to 5 on the play instead of not being able to play a game. Like this game, again, you know, I don't want to announce the game is over or anything because anything can happen. But I mean, you have Nelson casting Lingering Souls. He has access to another, you know, Skurtstack High Priest activation. I mean, yes, that's an Advent of the Worm. That's a great Magic card, but your opponent made a 5/5 on turn 3. You're making a 5/5 on turn 4, and Brad can make another 5/5 on turn 4. So, I mean, if we're going to have a little 5/5 standoff, he's got the advantage of 5/5s here. Your Advent of the Worm, you know, you can't even really attack, and if it does that, I think Brad's just going to go take 5.
Well, he can just soak up 2 from the Cartel Aristocrat for 3, make a 5/5 attack back. I mean, this is lethal. Like this is actually just lethal if John Spires doesn't formulate some sort of defense or removal. I mean, another amazing nut draw from Brad, and Spires' draw was so bad that Brad didn't even need a draw of this power to take it down. It looks like the old turn 5 experiment one with no follow-up with a hand of a couple lands and a Boros Charm.
He's not always there when you call.
Yeah.
But he's always on time. Is Experiment 1.
What does that even mean?
A little shout out to Ja Rule. I don't know how old you are, but I know how old I am. Here's a Blood Artist. Here's a flashback on Lingering Souls. Brad going to sacrifice.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, as far as draws go in the finals, this has been absolutely disgusting. Brad Nelson is your champion.
So we say that this deck is like a little underpowered and grindy, but when you get draws like that back to back,
not those games.
I mean, those are like legacy draws. Like that's like a hard debate for some legacy decks.
So I want you to know something. Last weekend